All right, welcome to Transform Virtual, everybody. I'm Jeremy Boren, GrayMatter's brand manager, and I have the pleasure today of introducing two special guests for our next session. It's Inderdeep Huja and also Tom Lamb, both from Emerge Systems, which GrayMatter acquired this year, and we're really excited to have them both as guests. Tom and Inderdeep, welcome.
Glad to be here.
Glad to have you.
Thanks, Jeremy.
Yeah. So I had a few questions for you today. I wanted to start off by just asking, since the theme this year is inspiring industrial resilience, Tom first and then Inderdeep, could you give us a little bit about your background and just tell us what inspires you to work with industrial companies every day, what you've been doing, for so many years at Emerge?
Yes, indeed. I've been working in the manufacturing world since the start of my career, and I feel it's the backbone of our economy. So over time, I've seen a variety of challenges from expanded competition, changes in technology, changes in consumer preferences, and it always impresses me as this sector steps up. And last year was a perfect example. Pandemic brought an unexpected set of circumstances. And in the case of segments such as food and beverage, which we are associated with, there was an increase in demand. So that's a challenge on top of a challenge. And our customers stepped up. So it's been very satisfying to be a part of this response.
For sure. Inderdeep, a little bit about your background.
Yeah. So, I've been involved primarily in the water, wastewater, and a part of the leadership team.
Mhm.
And the things I've seen over the few years and is that, what I like is you go into plant, you hear the vibrations, the sounds, the smells, and it's always really interesting for me to see what the process is and see how we can solve some of the problems. And because engineering to me is about problem solving, and so that to me that's really exciting to see such facilities, have the opportunity to see a diverse set of facilities.
For sure, absolutely. So with the acquisition, I guess late last year, early this year, Inderdeep, could you kind of share with the audience what are some of the synergies that you see between GrayMatter and Emerge in what we do well?
Firstly, we are super excited about this opportunity. It's a strategic merger, and Emerge has traditionally provided solutions from the device level, whether it's a flow meter, pressure transmitter, to the SCADA layer, builds really robust SCADA platforms, and so whereas GrayMatter takes it from the SCADA layer and provides solutions that provide solutions to perform analytics, which help clients to in this day and age help data-driven decision making,
Mhm.
and that's what happens is then. So with Emerge and GrayMatter, we can now provide a complete vertical stack of solutions, right from the device level to analytics, and creating really nice KPI dashboards, meaningful information, meaningful insights, and that's been that gives us great power or capabilities.
Mhm.
And we have worked on Emerge has worked on several platforms, whether it's the Rockwell platform, Wonderware, iFix, so as well as Siemens PLCs or Modicon PLCs or GE or Emerson PLCs, and Control Logics PLCs from Rockwell. And so we bring that experience to the table. And also, GrayMatter has certain best practices, Emerge has certain best practices, and putting them all together, I think, provides solid processes that we can put in place, and so that we can execute projects better. I think that's huge. So, like I said, we offer clients a complete stack of solutions, and that's really important. And then also the geographies, Emerge is pretty much doing projects right from New York City to, we have offices in Delaware, Maryland, an office in 3 offices in Virginia. So, it's as well as GrayMatter has offices in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. They have clients in Ohio. They have clients in Florida. So that really, creates this huge geography for both the companies that we can cover. And I think that's the value proposition this merger brings to the table.
For sure. Tom, what synergies do you see? I'm sure some of the
Well,
same ones that Inderdeep mentioned,
yes,
but
but I'll tell you, I've had a lot of fun getting to introduce our expanded capabilities to customers from two directions. So for legacy emerge customers, I have some GrayMatter people sit in and just see that there's quite a bit of interest in cybersecurity, advanced data analytics. Then I get to join other GrayMatter people as they introduce us to their customers, and you can see what a great relationship they have with their customers. Now we can go down to the shop floor automation, and you can see the customers are excited that they're now going to be able to use GrayMatter for a larger portion of projects.
That's awesome. That's great to hear. So speaking of projects, Inderdeep, on this next one, I'm thinking a lot of people have trouble sometimes about where to start.
Right.
They know that they want to take on a digital transformation project, but it can be challenging to kind of get into it and to figure out, where to begin. So what are some of the really common challenges that you encounter when you're getting started, with a customer?
Yeah, I think one of the major challenges is, you got to have buy-in from all the stakeholders, and it's always interesting how you can bring them around to create a common vision and talk about the benefits. And the other thing is, you got to build support for some of these initiatives. What happens is you got to have an internal champion who believes in this and who sees the value in it, who sees the benefits in it, so that when you come to implementation, there's some internal champion who can help the internal people be convinced that this is going to be of benefit to them. And I think one of the things they have to be ready for is cultural changes. I think there are huge, this new technologies such as analytics and predictive analytics and all this about data and creating KPIs. Um, you know, so the cultural changes, there is got to make sure that there is user adoption and there's not rejection. So,
Right.
and also there's so much information and it also comes to you at a faster rate. And I think they have to be trained to see all of that coming to them at a faster rate and react faster, respond faster. And the other challenges are, you see as an aging workforce, the older operators are retiring out, and then you have this entire millennial workforce coming in, and it's really important to transfer knowledge between the older generation and the newer millennials. And they operate at a different level. They have different values. Millennials are more computer savvy. They can, as well as the older people may or may not have used all the SCADA applications to their complete benefit. So I think it's also really important for a client to work with somebody like GrayMatter Emerge, just because of our experience. You want to build scalable and sustainable solutions that will, benefit the client in the long run. And working with GrayMatter brings this consultative opportunity to the table. They can, as well as they can do the implementation. So it's you just work in the initial part with the design. What is a vision? Create a vision for the client, and that's in the consultative opportunity. And then go about doing the implementation once you have a vision, once you know what the client wants. And I think having GrayMatter to do that is huge.
Tom, are there challenges or questions that you get all the time when you're starting with a customer?
Well, to follow up on Inder's comment about the culture change, that's one of the biggest things, and you shouldn't underestimate that. It is quite a challenge. It's important to have a champion on the customer side. That's key. But then it's important to have introduction before implementation. And then implementation is not a single pass. It's an ongoing process. So we plan for that. On the positive side, there's a lot of benefits to these technologies. And once the benefits become apparent, the rate of acceptance accelerates. But the challenge is to get to that traction point.
Yeah, very true. Yeah.
Absolutely. So Tom, another question I had for you was, the reality we're still in is remote work, right? And I'm sure, being in the field, being on the factory floor in places, how have you seen companies adapt to that reality of remote work? and remote work connectivity?
Well, working on integration projects, we fortunately have a history of coordinating teams that are physically separated. There's multiple vendors, client resources at multiple locations. And what changed last year was the extent of that separation and isolation. And now it included people working from home. So we all saw virtual meeting technologies get strained to handle the increased demand, but that led to improvements in those applications. So we no longer unexpectedly overflow into satellite meeting groups that we didn't know about. So that's been a challenge, and certainly the processes on the work. We're process people. Our customers are process people. So it's been really rewarding to see that they've implemented processes to keep things safe.
Right.
Inderdeep, what about you? Have you seen ways that companies have made that adaptation?
Yeah, we're seeing a lot more remote working remotely, especially the management people. But the operators, they have to be on the shop floor, they have to be on the plant floor. So you get to following all the CDC guidelines in that situation, and you have to do startups, and that's physical activity, but you see a lot of the management types, working remotely, and you have these meetings like Tom talked about. So and there are technologies to do that, also do remote connectivity safely, whether you create VPNs or have devices on either side to create secure tunnels. So I think, that those technologies have accelerated, and, it's happening. They feel secure, they feel comfortable about that. So I think that's also been a journey.
Yeah, and it seems like it's going to be sticking around for a while, even as we hopefully get into the latter stages of the pandemic.
Right. Yeah. Operations are, organizations are realizing the need to have truly connected and secure systems to prepare for these unexpected shifts in the marketplace and working conditions. And, a lot of companies are sort of prioritizing cybersecurity. Because another thing is, you see the cybersecurity, you had that incident in Florida at Oldsmar, and that's got everybody thinking, hey, I got to have my plant secure, and there are lots of audits going on and assessments going on and implementations. And I think that's driven home the need for having solid cybersecurity solutions so that you can, devices or systems can talk to one another, and also people can access the systems remotely.
Yeah, I totally agree. So something we touched on earlier when you're talking about, full stack solutions, is this idea of end-to-end visibility. And, that's where I think we find some of the great synergies between Emerge and GrayMatter. But Tom, can you kind of explain to folks what we mean when we're talking about end-to-end visibility and why that's such an advantageous thing for an organization to have?
Right. This is where Emerge and GrayMatter synergies really shine through, and what we mean by full stack solutions. We have experts from beginning to end. They specialize in every level of industrial control and solutions, instrumentation, control, industrial networking, supervisory control, up to analytics and other data solutions, end to end.
Yeah.
Yeah. Inderdeep, what do you think about end to end when we're talking about it?
Yeah. Right. So Tom talked about the vertical stack, and in especially you see this in the water wastewater world, you have SCADA, which is the core, generating lots of data, gobs of data. And whereas, you have these other applications like CMMS and GIS and workflow. And I see a movement towards integrating these applications together to, to provide a single pane of glass. You can see the data through a single pane of glass, and hopefully a single version of the truth. It takes a while to get to that. But yeah, I think so. Want to have the a single pane of glass. You present operational data with context, make it easy for the people to see. And management has a different need for the kinds of data, the KPIs they need, and operations has a different need. And the technologies are there to support that.
Yeah, absolutely. And then, when I think of end to end, I also just think of cyber as being the foundation for all of it through every step in that chain. Right. Just making sure it's secure, especially with everything we've been talking about with remote. It's so important. So,
right. And that's one of the great things about our new connection with GrayMatter is they have such depth and experience in that area. So as I mentioned, one of the exciting areas when we introduce them to legacy eMerge customers.
that's great to hear. Really good to hear. Well, Tom and Inderdeep, I really appreciate you joining us for today's session and introducing yourselves to Transform. And I think it's a great event and just a great opportunity to talk about what's going on in the industry. So thanks for being here today.
You're
Thank you.
welcome.